3 hours later, the zombies were chauffeur-driven to Askirk, a small village on the Scottish border. And after creeping around assessing the area, the two lorries stopped with a jolt before coming to a halt. Seconds later, John and Johnson got out the vehicles and approached each other with caution.
Okay, Johnson, I think we'll stop here for the night. Let the deceased blokes out and get Joe to sacrifice a few of those limbless guys to feed the rest of them hungry savages. We won't find anything in this dead town.
The captain suggested, satisfied he wasn't about to lead his men into an ambush.
Are you okay? You don't look too good.
Johnson asked, for he could tell something was bothering his leader.
I'm fine.
I don't believe you.
Okay, Johnson, you got me. I'm confused, that's all.
Why?
Did you notice the piles of headless and burnt-out bodies?
Johnson smiled while trying his best not to laugh, for deep down he knew it took very little to baffle the lunatic. It was only a few hours ago he mistook a kilt for a miniskirt and was about to accuse the man who was wearing it along with his combat boots and motorbike helmet of getting ready to sell himself instead of going out to bite and infect. But then again, Johnson was rather confused himself, now that John had brought the piles of the dead to his attention.
Yeah, I did as it goes.
He replied a full minute later.
It makes little sense. Savages don't burn people, we eat or convert them if they're lucky. That's it, end of story. We haven't got time to be chopping off heads. Well, not clean cuts like that.
Maybe the cannibals have discovered a fantastic barbecue sauce and just had to try it out on each other.
That's not funny, Johnson. Those burnt bodies we drove past are piles of dead zombies, and whoever messed them up is sending out an obvious message. And you know what I think?
Just tell me.
A new breed of super zombie killers have entered the battle, but it matters not because you're going to help me find and eat them alive real slowly.
The captain expressed whilst rubbing the sleep out his eyes and trying ever so hard to stop himself from yawning.
I'll take the first watch, Cap. Go put your head down and get some rest.
Johnson ordered his leader, for he'd been overthinking things and maybe letting his imagination run wild.
Don't mind if I do.
He replied, walking off into a nearby house, and within minutes he'd found himself somewhere to relax and drink his bottle of rotten human blood and fruit cocktail, manufactured from 4 separate humans and laced with the finest Jamaican white rum, 2 freshly squeezed oranges, and a slice of lemon thrown in for good measures, shaken and not stirred. And after taking a few sips of his homemade, unfit for any normal person's consumption, he turned his attention to a king-sized bed he discovered, with one of its occupants still in it. And after pulling back the bed sheets, he grabbed hold of the half-eaten dead woman with one hand and threw her straight out of the window, climbed into the bed and put his head down, and within a matter of seconds he was fast asleep. You could hear him snoring from at least 3 blocks away.
But an hour and 20 minutes later, something wasn't quite right, as Johnson showed, gripping the Cap's left arm and shaking it violently to wake him up or disrupt his sleeping pattern.
And after 10 minutes of almost ripping the thing off, he got John's attention, and from laying on the bed 1 second to the next, the captain had risen from the dead again, pointing his handgun straight at him.
Don't shoot. It's only me.
Johnson shouted, thinking to himself, why the hell did I have to wake him up for? As the Cap stood before him with his eyelids closed, fast asleep and still snoring with his middle finger placed around the gun's trigger.
I hate you.
He said after opening an eyelid and giving the FBI man a dirty look, before launching a full complaint.
I just finished making love to Anna Nicole Smith and Marilyn Monroe. For Christ's sake, I was just getting ready to eat grapes off this Latina's melons, whilst Shirley Bassey was singing Goldfinger. I can't believe you did that to me. It will take me years to have another dream like that. Why did you wake me, Johnson? Just tell me why.
The legendary captain was almost reduced to tears. But showing no signs of remorse, the agent felt the joy of having woken his leader from one of his wildest fantasies. Kinky bastard! He was dying to call him, but knew he was in significant danger of being shot and needed to explain himself fast.
I'm sorry to wake you, but you need to come outside and have a look at something.
What do you want me to see?
You won't believe me if I told you.
Just tell me.
Okay, have it your way. There's a skeleton sitting on a horse parading up and down the streets. He's looking for an object or someone. I've got a funny feeling it could be you.
Are you trying to upset me, Johnson? You woke me up from the best dream ever that comes around once every million years. To tell me about a stupid set of skull and bones riding a bloody horse 3 o'clock at night. And it's not even April Fool's Day. And you really expect me to go along with that? I mean, just what type of lunatic do you take me for?
I knew you wouldn't believe me. That's why I asked you to have a look for yourself.
Well, if he's looking for me, and he's after a job, why don't he wait until morning? I'm not doing army sign-ups in the middle of the night. Plus, I'm not convinced it's a wise decision to recruit skeletons, and how come the boys haven't eaten him?
He's got no meat on him for a start. Plus, they're all terrified he might cast a curse or a spell on them that could have everlasting or devastating effects.
Have you gone mad, Johnson? My guys are already dead. What can be worse than that? What type of wizardry tricks could a bunch of bones stacked on a horse put on my men? That it would scare them to even approach him?
I don't know, maybe give them all a sex change?
Okay, Johnson. Point taken. No one goes near the stupid skeleton except you, so talk to him and find out what the hell he wants.
That's what you think.
Are you declining my command?
You're damn right I'm refusing that order. You can shoot me if you like, but after that you won't have anyone to chat to apart from Joe, and he only says 3 words, ah, hum, and food.
That's where you're wrong, Johnson. He chats quite a bit when he's ready. Remember the battle we had at the White House? When Joe was running around with the Russian flag and flagpole with intentions of sticking it straight up the American vice president's backside?
Yeah, I saw him trying to catch her.
Well, anyway, she fell on her back with her legs wide apart and up in the air, exposing her white underwear, giving Joe the biggest smile I'd ever seen, getting himself ready to do the unthinkable with the Russian flagpole. And guess what happened?
Just tell me.
She went to the floor for a reason, uncovering her CV, for beneath her mini skirt she had a small gun strapped to her knicker strap, pulled it free, and aimed the gun's barrel straight at Joe's privates, firing a single shot. And yes, I totally agree with you. Ever since Joe became a zombie, I only ever heard him say 3 words, but when that lady fired at him, he dropped the flagpole split second to check his credentials were still intact. It turned out she'd missed by a few centimeters, and that's when I got the biggest shock of my life. Joe looked at me and said, "F me, that was a close one, Captain."
I don't believe you.
It's the bloody truth, I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, I suppose being hit by a bullet just below or above your privates would be enough to make any dead man talk. What happened to the vice president?
Ah, she was long gone. She strapped her gun back to her panty strap, fixed her skirt and walked off. While Joe was too busy praising the Lord, he must have checked himself over at least 10 times before pulling his pants down to have a proper look. Coming to think of it, where were you when all this was going on?
I was in the White House's kitchen.
What the hell were you doing in there?
making a cup of coffee to go with the good old-fashioned fry-up I made, which tasted delicious, and would have been even better if I'd found out where the president kept his bottle of tomato sauce.
Oh, that's a real shame. Would you like me to put a jug of tomato ketchup on your list of things you want for Christmas? I can't believe you guys. I mean, how the hell we got this far, I don't know. I asked God to send me 2 people to help me lead my army to victory. What does he give me, Laurel and Bloody Hardy? One of the most important battles we've had, and halfway through, I find Joe standing up with his pants pulled down to his boots checking himself, while bullets fly past his nose and bum cheeks, and you of all people sneak into the kitchen to eat the president out of house and home.
You forgot one thing, Cap.
What would that be?
I hadn't eaten for 2 days while you and the rest of the beasts were running about biting the crap out of everyone and each other. Not one of your dirty, rotten, low-life savages thought about me. So when we got to the White House, I saw my chance and took it. And by God did I take it, I even made myself a takeaway too. So unless you want me falling asleep halfway into a battle, or running off to make myself a sandwich when everyone else is fighting, I suggest you feed me because I can't fight on an empty stomach or eat the same crap as you guys.
Okay, my mistake, I apologize. Things will be different from now on.
Thanks.
So what do we do about our stupid skeleton who went to town riding on a pony problem?
I'll go out with you to meet him and find out what he wants, but I won't be talking to him. So he can put a curse on me or give me a sex change. Oh no. Hell no.
Moments later, John and Johnson walked out of the house and onto the street, resembling a scene from a Western film. The captain held his gun with his right hand, while Johnson kept his Colt .45 close to his waist, approaching the fleshless figure sitting on a horse 100 yards down the road. As they drew closer, Johnson's right hand began to shake, as he debated to draw his weapon while using his other to wipe the sweat from his eyebrows. Moving towards each other was done in complete silence. You could hear a pin drop from at least a mile away. Even the wind had stopped, while the first military zombie officer and the rest of the Cap's men hid in the nearby buildings, peeping through the window curtains to maintain a close view of the action, without getting themselves directly involved. When all of a sudden the skeleton unmounted his horse, drew his sword and walked towards the captain, stopping a few feet away. Johnson quickly pointed his Colt .45 at the bony figure's head, while John followed pursuit with his gun, ready to blast the pile of walking bones back to wherever he just came from when something extraordinary happened. The man with no flesh laughed as if someone had just tickled his funny bone before thrusting his blade towards John. Balancing on the end of the sword was an envelope which John and Johnson already acknowledged. "Take it." The skeleton said very slowly, with a bit of an echo, allowing it to be taken, before turning around to make his way back to his horse. And after mounting his stallion, he rode off at a hasty pace, building up speed and leaving a trail of blazing fire behind.